Hello, this is Shiree with rehashfiber. Welcome to your very first knitting lesson. I am thrilled that you are here because when you learn to knit, you have entered a world that there is just a lot of joy and fun in your hands. You will never be bored again. You will look at time completely different. And it's just a soothing and entertaining thing to do. And in the end, you have a garment that you get to wear or give to somebody else. It's wonderful. A couple of things before we get started. To find all of these introductory lessons, you can go to YouTube. My channel is rehashfiber, and the playlist is called Beginners Learn to Knit Lessons. Everything is going to be there. As time goes by, I will be teaching more and more and adding more shows to that playlist. Also, if you want to watch ad-free, you can go to Patreon and you just have to contribute to be able to watch them ad-free. All right, the other thing is I'm going to be teaching you the continental method of knitting. I find that it is a bit more efficient and goes a little faster. So if you happen to fall in love with this and over your lifetime do thousands upon thousands of stitches, it's going to be a little bit easier on your hand and your projects will go just a little bit faster. So I know you're super excited. We're going to jump right in. But what I'm going to tell you first is as I teach you the stitches, I'm also going to show you their terms. Because in the end, you're going to want to read a pattern and the pattern has terms. So it is rather simple. Today you're going to learn the cast on and knitting. So in a pattern, it's going to be CO for cast on and the number of stitches you need to cast on. For knitting, it's going to be a K and the number of stitches. Pretty simple for starters. All right, and that's how this works, step by step. So just start with the early steps, practice this knitting until it's comfortable. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do that now. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you some more great information. Before we get started here, I just wanted to share with you that I have a nice yarn here from a yarn store. It was donated to me. I do not have the label, but I can tell that it's a wool blend. It's soft and it's a DK weight. I also have here my favorite type of knitting needles. These are the Chiagu. They're stainless steel. These are US size 6. They're 32 inches long. They're my favorites because I love the points. They help when I'm getting into the yarn when I'm knitting. Also, the yarn slides very well down the stainless steel needles. And this red cord is wonderful. It doesn't get any weird stiff shapes. It's very pliable, easy to use, never a problem, never in the way. All right, we're going to get started here. So the first step is we need to make the slip knot. But the cast on method I'm going to teach you is called the double cast on, and we need enough yarn to work with. So to determine the amount of yarn you're going to need, you need to take how much you're going to make and multiply it by 3. Today I'm going to teach you 20 stitches. So we're just going to estimate this. I'm going to say 20 stitches are probably going to be this long. So we're going to do 3 times that amount. And you're going to see how this all plays out in a minute. I'll be a little generous. 1, 2, 3. This is our starting point here. Okay, you need your tail. That's 3 times the width of the item you're going to make. And then the rest of your yarn coming from the source, the ball, the cake, whatever it may be. Here's where we start. You have to start with a slip knot. Your tail is this lower end of the yarn here. You're going to lay the yarn over your 2 fingers. You're going to bring it around the back of the fingers from underneath, up and over once again, and let it cross at the top. Where it crosses at the top is when I pull it off the fingers, but this yarn strand, we're going to take it behind, and I have it look like this, where it's like a circle with a line through it. Now the knitting needle comes into play. You just need 1. You're going to go over, under the middle, over the top. We're going to pull it gently to the needle. You don't want to tug it hard. It'll just make it harder to knit into later because this is actually your first stitch for your casting on as well. Okay, so there you have your slip knot I'm going to show it to you again. Your tail's over here, your working yarn is up here. One more time. There you have your slip knot. That is the very first thing you need to know how to do. Now we're going to carry on with the double cast on. Here's how your setup is going to be. Your needle is in your right hand. You have your working yarn in this direction. You have your tail in this direction. You're going to take your pointer and your thumb and you're going to go into this yarn. You're going to capture it with the rest of these fingers here. You're going to let the thumb yarn come over your thumb, and these last two fingers here, the ring finger and the pinky, are going to go ahead and hold on to the yarn. Now you have control. That is important. In knitting, you want control. Control and tension. So you're controlling your yarn and your tension. You don't want it too loosey. You don't want it so tight that you can't work. It's a nice tension. So I'm going to show you how to do that again. One more time. You are ready to make your first double cast on stitch. Your needle in your right hand is going to come and go under this yarn and the thumb right here, under the yarn that comes off the thumb. Now you see here how it looks like there is a nice loop or hole with your thumb that the needle is going into. Now you're going to go to the yarn that is coming off of your pointer finger and you're going to grab it and you're going to pull it through that loop and take your thumb out. And you're going to gently pull it to your needle. Okay, don't do it tight. Gently pull it to the needle because you're going to have to knit into these later. So you don't want them so tight to your needle you can't get into them. That happens sometimes, just casting on quickly and like, oh, I wasn't being mindful of that. So I'm just telling you now, be mindful. Here we go again. We're going to cast on another one. You will not take your fingers out each time. There will be a flow. Under the thumb, yarn that's coming off the pointer, grab it, pull through that loop on the thumb. Use your thumb and your pointer finger to draw the yarn to the needle. Let's go again. One more time slow. Now we're going to do some that are up to speed. So you see how you get a lovely flow there. Oops, when things don't feel right, let it come out, double check it. I was going into something wrong there. We're going to cast on 20. So here we're going to need to count. You do count the slip knot as your first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You have cast on your first 20 stitches. Congratulations. Tail goes out of the way, wherever you want to put it. Working yarn is up here to the left. I'm going to teach you the continental method where the yarn is being controlled with your left hand, so it's easier to have it off to the left. We're going to switch the needle to the left hand now. Make sure that tail is out of the way and that you don't accidentally start working with it as you're working yarn, which I have done plenty of times. I get so mad at myself. And here we go. The first thing you need to do is back to holding that tension with your yarn. The easiest way to hold it is like this. I always do this. Drop your finger and your pointer, go in and scoop up the yarn. So you see how that lays over your fingers. Now you have control. The main thing is you always want your yarn coming over this pointer finger. So this is your control area here where you're going to grab, where you're going to pick up the yarn. The rest of your fingers hold and control this needle. So you have this lovely control finger here. Now, pick up your right needle and we're going to work into it. You can call it either from underneath or from left to right. We're working into the stitch from this direction. So you see how we're going in here. Now we're going to grab this yarn and pull it through. You can use your other fingers to help. You see how my tall finger is already just up there helping get the yarn around the needle? All right, you have pulled it through the loop. Your next step, again, fingers all working together and it all becomes natural once you do it enough. Pointer is controlling so that needle doesn't flow anywhere. The rest of the fingers are pushing it up. You're going to push it off your left needle. There you go. You've made your first knit stitch and it's on the right needle. We're going to be working all these over to here in knit stitches. So we're going into the stitch. You're going to grab the yarn, make sure it's through, and then push it off. Go very gentle with yourself. Things are going to feel funny at first. It's going to feel awkward. When you do it enough, it's going to feel better. So we're going into the stitch, grabbing the yarn, pulling it through. Into the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through. Do a couple up to speed. Okay, I'm going to show you something else. Now this tension that I have here works perfect with this yarn that's a wool blend. But when I have more slipperier yarns, I have some silk and some other things like that, it doesn't hold it enough. It's too slippery and I don't have a good tension. So another thing that I do is I wrap it around my pinky once and then get it up and over my pointer finger. For this, there's a little bit too much tugging going on. It doesn't flow over my fingers. See, I can feel that. It's too tight. But that is what works for me when there's something slippery. So what I need you to know is that you can develop your own tension, whatever works for you. I've seen people do a variety of different things. But I do want to say it does need to come over your pointer finger so that you are able to grab that yarn and pull it through. Do these nice and slow for you. Okay, I'm going to take it all the way to the end. I've got one more thing I need to share with you. Sometimes yarn is made with different plies. You see here, there's 4 different strands within this one yarn. You want to be careful not to split the yarn. It happens at times. You'll be going through and, oops, something like that will happen. When you feel it weird, you'll kind of be able to see it once you start getting used to this. Pull your needle back out. Make sure that you're getting through all the strands. It happens. Okay, here we are at the end. Very good. Right, so when you're at the end, you can drop the needle, drop the yarn. You did your first row of work. Congratulations. Now what you do is you just transfer the needle to your left hand. You are ready to go again. Bring up your right needle. Grab your yarn for your tension. Hold your needle with your hand. You can adjust this as you need to. Sometimes I need to add just a little bit of slack so I can get into that first stitch. I want you to do your 20 stitches again. You see that? I split the yarn. Good for an example there. There we go. Okay, we're going to get through row number 2 of stitches. Here we go. I will see you at the end of this row. Here's something I want to show you because the yarn just fell in front like so. You can't have it over the front of that needle for the knit stitch. It needs to stay behind. Work into your stitch, bring the yarn through. Into the stitch, bring the yarn through. There we go. You have just done row number 2. Drop that needle. Let's flip it over to the left hand to get ready to go again. However, let's take a peek at what you've been doing. Look at your work. There you go. That's the exciting part. You are starting to create fabric, an item from your knitting. When you knit every single row, it's called the garter stitch. What it is there's this little ridge all along the way from knitting every single row. So yes, it's the knit stitch, but you will see patterns that will say, this part is done in garter stitch, whether maybe it's your hem or something decorative, or even the whole sweater. Sweater done in garter stitch. You know you're going to be knitting the whole way. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to continue on with these 20 stitches, knitting and knitting and knitting. Find the most peaceful time of your day where you feel relaxed and comfortable and ready to work towards this. Be gentle with yourself and practice. You must practice and practice and practice until it is almost second nature, almost completely comfortable. You'll know when that time is and that when you're ready for your fingers and your brain to learn the next step. Good luck and have fun. This is what doing the knit stitch looks like, or garter stitch, after you've done multiple rows. You can see here it has a nice springy feeling to it. It's got these ridges. It's a whole lot of fun. So I suggest you just keep on practicing your knit stitch until you are super comfortable with it. All right, so it may feel like you have needles and yarn everywhere that you can't quite control yet. Do not worry, that is what practice is all about. Think of the other things in life that you really enjoy doing now and are easy for you now, but they weren't when you started. Same thing. Once you get this, it's a beautiful rhythm and a great feeling. So just keep on going. And I like to say, do it bad until you do it good. So one more thing, if you're feeling that this is going to be something you really want to do and do more of, this has been the most handy book for me ever. I started to knit 28 years ago and I purchased this early on. It is like an encyclopedia of information for knitting and I reference it frequently to this day. So it is very valuable to me. This is the old copy. If you go on the internet, you can probably find it at a used bookstore, or there is a new version. It's very worth your while. And one more thing before we go. The best site ever for looking for patterns is called Ravelry.com. It's fun to have inspiration. So if you do not have inspiration yet on your project that you would like to do soon or someday, that is a great place to peruse the patterns. You can put in all the different factors as far as difficulty rating, the needles you want to use, the weight of the yarn you want to use, and it will help narrow down the patterns and show you things. And I think it's just fun to get ideas there. So check that out, Ravelry.com. It's always great to have some inspiration out there that you're working towards. Alrighty, happy practicing your knitting, and thanks for watching.